My friends, Halo Reach has just changed in the absolute best and also worst ways humanly imaginable. Cursed Reach has officially arrived, and my god, is this the absolute magnum opus of all of the Cursed Halo experiences. Gashnor has once again knocked it out of the park. Honestly, his versions of Cursed Halo are on par with Inferno Plus's originals, and what we're going to be covering today is just further proof that they truly do belong in the pantheon of Cursed Halo experiences. However, some forewarning, this mod is absolutely huge. I mean, this might genuinely be the biggest mod in terms of content that I have ever played for any game ever, and so it's going to be feasibly impossible for me to cover everything, which is perfect because it gives you a reason to go and download the mod and try it for yourself. Link in the description. Okay, so the original plan was to open this video by talking about the insanity of Cursed Reach's sandbox, and trust me, we're going to get to that, but I'm sorry, I can't dance around the elephant in the room any longer. We need to talk about Noble Team. So their designs have all been kind of cursed up a little bit, particularly in the helmet region. All of their helmets have been swapped out for those rather odd-looking Roman helmets, and also they're all complete with the face of Mr. Chief on their visors to make them that bit more imposing. But then, then there's George.
What have you done with my armor?
Just some additions I've made.
So, it seems as though the Roman helmets were reserved only for the Spartan 3s. Being a Spartan 2, George got a rather different treatment. You know, he's not even George anymore, he's Vegeta, and his power level is well beyond 9,000.
What does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000!
Seeing this in cutscenes is just magical. I mean, how the hell are the Covenant meant to stop us when we have Vegeta on our side? Okay then, so now let's go over what this mod has done to Reach's sandbox. Now, the sandbox is always the greatest element of any Cursed Halo experience, and I'm very happy to say that that has never been more true than it is with Cursed Halo Reach. Reach's default assault rifle has been turned into a Borderlands rifle, complete with cell shading, different levels and projectiles, and even this really cool Borderlands-style tooltip that hovers above it on the ground and gives you information about it. The level 1 AR is just Reach's default assault rifle. Then, the upgraded level 4 assault rifle fires incendiary rounds, and the maxed out level 9 assault rifle fires explosive rounds. Honestly, this really does feel like a weapon that I'd find in Borderlands. The DMR is now sponsored, heavily sponsored, mind you, by good old-fashioned Mountain Dew, so far as even trading out its optic for an upside-down can of Mountain Dew, and also packing its mags with, if you can believe it, 15 cans of Mountain Dew once again. In case it wasn't already abundantly clear, these rounds don't quite have the range nor the stopping power of regular DMR rounds, but they do still get the job done in the hands of, you know, a true gamer. As for the Magnum, well, there are actually quite a few Magnums in this mod. The default one is the Bouncy Ball Pistol, which does exactly what it says on the tin. There's also the Stun Gun as well, which returns from Cursed Halo 3, except now your character holds his badge up as he stuns his target. The glorious rocket grenades make their well-awaited return as well, unchanged from Cursed Halo 3 and ODST, and honestly, these things are just a masterpiece, hands down the most fun piece of any Cursed Halo sandbox. Giving Noble Team the Team Rocket blasting off again treatment is just timeless. Honestly, it never gets old, and hitting enemy vehicles, sniper towers, and even cover with them is equally as fun. Seriously, you need to download this mod purely to play around with these rocket grenades. You will not be disappointed. But new to Cursed Reach are what I'm going to call, for algorithmic and also monetization purposes, the F grenades. So, bit of context. A while back, Gashnor DM'd me asking me to send him some audio of me swearing, saying certain expletives. And this is the result.
He's gonna rip this base apart.
A glorious symphony of myself and many others shouting bleeped out swear words. You know, I think that's a truly worthy successor to the plasma grenade. The Covenant would be proud. And the same goes for the Needler as well, which has a rather strange successor here, called the Enveloper, which fires envelopes, if you can believe it, that upon super combining, alerts their victim of some important information.
You've got mail. You've got mail. You've got mail.
You know what? Hearing that for the first time gave me so much nostalgia. I think Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan would be proud. Now, I think Gashnor might have something of a cone fetish, because many things in this mod have been conized, so to speak. A prime example of which being the cone rifle. Say goodbye to the needle rifle and say hello to the cone rifle. You know, maybe if someone kills me with this, Bungie will finally give me recon.
All you British, can I have recon, and the word please, and it looks like you just held the Z key down for 5 minutes.
I think the more Z's I put in please, the more chance they all will give me recon.
And maybe, if I ask nicely enough, you guys will help me along to the long overdue goal of 600,000 subscribers by hitting subscribe right now. I am so close to 600k now, I can taste it. It's on the tip of my tongue, I can taste it. So every sub helps. Thank you very much. Okay then, let's switch gears for a second and talk about the not so conventional weapons. Not to say that anything we've covered today so far has been even remotely conventional by any means, but trust me when I say what comes next is even less conventional. Starting out, let's take a look at the 4 different kinds of wieldable consoles. Yes, you heard me right. Beginning with the weakest, the Xbox One S, which fires discs. Honestly, this thing kind of feels like a weapon that I'd use in Dead Rising, which is always a good association to make. Going up a tier, of course, we have the Xbox One X, wielded just like Phil Spencer once did, which fires a barrage of explosive Xbox logos. Then the Xbox 360, which fires explosive power buttons that play the iconic achievement sound, and when charged up, plays the boot up sound and fires the infamous red ring of death. And then, finally, we have the elite Halo 3 Xbox 360, which is like the standard one, but multiplied by 4. So 4 power buttons per shot, and I don't even know how many, a ton of red rings per charge up. Oh my sweet lord, how the hell did I forget the magnum opus of the console weapons? The Xbox Hammer. How did I forget this? So, the Gravity Hammer is now adorned with the best console ever made, the original Xbox, and swinging it launches an explosive green aura of Y2K iconicness, even playing that gorgeous, nostalgic OG Xbox boot-up sound effect as it does so. This is just perfection. And then, my personal favourite group of weapons in this mod, the staffs. Now, never in a million years did I ever expect to see Origins references in Halo, let alone in Cursed Halo. But, you know, as someone who is a massive Zombies fan, I am all for this. So I only managed to find 3 of the elemental staffs. I don't know if, like Origins, there are meant to be 4 of them, or if there's only 3, but here we go. The first one I found was the Dark Staff, which fires a slow-moving purple orb that, upon impact, causes a target to levitate before exploding and flying in the air. Then the Lightning Staff, which kind of works like the Lightning Staff in Origins, firing a hit-scan long-range lightning projectile that does a ton of damage to literally anything, from infantry to vehicles and even phantoms. And then the Fire Staff, which again is very similar to the Fire Staff in Origins, firing a small fireball projectile that ignites the target upon impact. These staffs, honestly, like a few things in this mod, go beyond being cursed and are just flat out really cool. Okay then, I think we need to cool off the cursed for a moment. Too much cursed in one sitting really ain't good for you. So, perfect time to talk about today's sponsor, the AMD Acer Nitro 5. If you want to end your cursed Halo, fulfill your crippling addiction to Escape from Tarkov, or play anything else on the go, then this laptop is the one for you. It features a super powerful AMD Ryzen 7 6800H processor, part of the 6000 series processors designed to deliver incredible performance while remaining cool and quiet. And also, it comes with a NVIDIA RTX 3060 graphics card, so any game from Halo to Siege to good old Zombies and so much more will run like a goddamn dream. The newly refined chassis is dual fan cooled and also has dual intakes and a quad exhaust port designed for maximum coolness. And using the NitroSense utility app, you can modulate the fan speed, the lighting and more to your taste. Speaking of light, the 4-zone RGB keyboard comes with highlighted arrow keys for visibility and a dedicated NitroSense key. And fear not, the screen excels as well. It's Quad HD with AMD FreeSync Premium and a lightning-fast 165Hz refresh rate and a 3 millisecond response time that will guarantee high frame rates and gorgeous-looking games. This laptop is a beast to game on wherever you are. So, if that all sounds good to you, then head on over to the link in the description and pick one up today. Anyways, let's get back to some more normal looking weapons, and by normal, I of course mean weapons that are cursed beyond all recognition, but at the very least, are shaped like weapons. Cursed Halo Reach is home to two types of energy sword. The first is an incredibly stealthy Solid Snake Sam Fisher inspired blade. The Suppressed Sword. I mean, it's literally a sword with suppressors at the end of each blade. Do I really have to say anything else? But the second sword is, quite iconic, if I say so myself. So, as you play through the levels, you may encounter an image of somebody, of yours truly, soy-jacking, as you do. But if you head in the direction that my soy-jack is pointing in, you'll find something quite special. You'll find my very own sword, the iconic one's blade. Handcrafted for the Arbiter's secret personal army known as the Hidden, a gratuity offered to only the greatest of legends. This thing is awesome. It functions identically to the Halo 2 sword, which is my personal favorite energy sword, and I gotta give Gashnor a huge thank you for adding this bad boy. Honestly, it really means a lot, and I've been having a ton of fun going through watching people's reactions to seeing it for the first time, to both seeing me soy-jacking and also the blade itself. Very cool. Thank you very much, Gashnor. I really appreciate it. This thing is so sick. Something else that's sick are both of the new shotguns. Again, this mod is absolutely cursed beyond all belief, but at the same time, it's full of genuinely cool weapons, which really does add to the whole experience, such as the double-barreled shotgun. Now, this thing looks straight out of Doom, but at the same time, straight out of Halo as well. Very gnarly. But then there's the needless shotgun, which doesn't just look volatile and violent, it acts like it as well, firing what feel like buckshots full of blamite, and when you charge it up, it fires an even bigger burst that insta-super combines anything, and then some. This is a weapon that I've wanted to see in a cannon form for a very, very long time, and you know, if it functioned like this, I would be all for it. Okay, any Titanfall fans watching by any chance, or is that a ridiculously stupid question? Of course there are. This next one's for you. Gashnor's managed to recreate the Smart Pistol, and honestly, it works really, really well. It's not quite as flashy as Titanfall's, which you can expect, but the crosshair even dynamically moves across the screen to lock onto enemies, which really does make it feel like the Smart Pistol. This is yet again one of those cursed weapons that's honestly just really, really cool. But fear not, there are many more cursed pistols to make up for this. The most common is the Trojan Plasma Pistol, which upon impact with the target, puts a live grenade in their pocket. Very Fallout. But when it's charged up, it creates a huge explosion at their feet as well. Almost like a mini A10 Warthog strafe run, but coming out of that poor brute's pocket. Back to the UNSC pistols, my absolute favourite from Cursed Halo 3 returns, the Suplex Pistol. But this time, it's brought its big brother with it, the Super Suplex Pistol. So this thing fires a laser beam that suplexes everything it touches with extreme physics, and just like every other hyperphysics altering tool that Gashnor's got in his sandboxes, this thing never, and I mean never, gets old. Let's talk sniper rifles now, and good god, the sniper rifles have been butchered. The Fibonacci sniper rifle is the default sniper, and I say default with the strongest of air quotes, and as the name implies, of course, this is very obvious, each successive shot that the sniper rifle fires a number of extra projectiles in line with the Fibonacci sequence. Again, of course, this is obvious. Right guys, so the first shot fires one projectile, then the second fires one shot again, then 2, then 3, then 5, and then 8 projectiles, and then back to 1. Really simple and really obvious and easy to understand, right? you know, I can see why the UNSC made this thing. It really makes total sense. I'm sure that in the field, in the heat of battle, everybody will be able to understand how this thing works. Right? And then there's the Octo Sniper, which is an 8-barreled rifle with a magazine deeper than the Mariana Trench. Oh, and also, once you pull the trigger on this thing, it spools up and you can't stop it from firing until you've dumped the magazine. You also can't see anything either, so yeah, good luck ever using this thing. Although I will say, watching a Marine try to use it is just pure comedy. And for the Covenant, the already nigh-on useless focus rifle somehow manages to become even more useless in this mod, morphing into the unfocused rifle. Now, not only is it highly inaccurate with an MOA that must be like 7,000 or something, as the name would imply, but it also unfocuses your Spartan's visor like a CRT TV trying to find a channel whenever you fire it, so yeah, good luck ever killing a single thing with this. I wasn't able to kill it even so much as a grunt. Speaking of useless weapons, for the first time ever, the rocket launcher has become useless. This is the rocketed rocket launcher, which, as far as I can tell, is a rocket launcher that fires another rocket launcher, which then fires a rocket. Yeah, absolutely do not take a shot every time I just said rocket launcher. On the flip side, though, there's the implosion rockets, which are frankly just, like, insane. These things are ridiculous. Their rockets have instant travel time, and not only is the initial explosion bigger than normal, but there's also a subsequent explosion that's akin to a mini-nuke. Like, this thing basically feels like a hit-scan Fat Man from Fallout. On the topic of Fallout, this segue makes no sense whatsoever. A little bit like what Gashnor's done to the grenade launcher. It's no longer the grenade launcher, it is now the Gruntnade launcher. Yeah. Sitting atop the launcher is a tiny grunt that cheers you on as you fire ragdolling grunt corpses at the enemy that not only do quite significant impact damage, but also explode in a fiery blaze of methane glory. Penultimately, we have the Projectileinator, which is a Halo 3 flamethrower that launches a random projectile seemingly every game tick, which is very, very fast to say the least, and this thing is absolute hell incarnate, and that's putting it lightly. This is what it looks like to open Pandora's box on, like, hyper-Doisac-grown brute-tier hallucinogens. It's almost a guaranteed checkpoint reset every time you fire it, and it's probably going to overload your eyeballs as well, so maybe don't use this one that much. And finally, continuing Gashnor's habit of suppressing things that should never be suppressed, we have the Suppressed Particle Accelerator. Yep. The McHan now has a suppressor, and it sounds like the pistol from GoldenEye. You know, I'm sure this is possible in real life. It's just no one's had the balls to try it yet, right? Now, fear not, my friends. Yes, we may have covered as many weapons as my smooth brain can possibly handle, but as Jonathan Loop once said,
I think we're just getting started.
It's time to cover the equipment, which is equally as insane as the weapons. Starting out with Sprint, and well, it was one of the first things that I used upon playing the mod, and I feel like it kind of set the tone for what was to come. Sprint is now backwards. That's right, you sprint backwards. So to get anywhere, even remotely fast, you have to reverse your way there and essentially guess where you're going. You know, the first time I did this, I could really feel Noble Team judging me. What Gashnor's done to Armor Lock is the absolute most cursed, but almost blessed. The most blessed thing possible. Hey, new word. So, it's now been combined with Evade. When you activate it, you now evade into battle, slam down Armor Lock, emit, shall we say, a cloud of methane with a humorous sound effect, and jump back. That methane cloud insta-kills anything in it, by the way, and yes, NPCs like Noble Team and even Elites and Brutes will use this as well, and watching an Elite or a Brute do it in particular is quite something. Instead of Hologram, we now have Peaceful Negotiations. So this ability sends out a grunt that is, of course, clad in beautiful Mark V armor, armed with a rocket launcher, to begin peace talks with the enemy. But as always, the peace talks go awry, and so the grunt then explodes in its own cloud of methane. Active camouflage has become inactive camouflage, so you still go camo, but as the name implies, you're inactive. You literally can't move. Rest in peace camo then, I guess. The jetpack is hell for anybody who dares to stand beneath you. It now has 2 mini octo snipers attached to each thruster that continuously fire beneath you as you fly, that annihilate literally anything, friend or foe, that makes the mistake of standing beneath you. And finally, we have the good old-fashioned interdimensional marble returning, which spawns any sandbox element regardless of where you are, and some other lovely surprises as well. Oh, and actually an epilogue to the armor abilities, there's this one as well called Insta-Kill that's like a cloudy skull. I couldn't figure out for the life of me what this thing did. I got it a few times, and every time I used it, I couldn't tell what happened, but I guess that's part of the mystery of Cursed Halo. And that segues us very nicely into the vehicles, which, shock horror, have been bastardized beyond all recognition, just like the rest of this beloved game. Kicking it off in style, the civilian truck, or the Spade as I believe it's called, is now called the reverse truck. It drives in reverse, so to go forward, you have to decelerate, which, you know, is extremely convenient. The New Mombasa Police Department's official police cruiser is now drivable, and not only does it come with a siren that you can't ever turn off, which is just fantastic, but its hydraulics are designed for it to drive in, how should I say this, a perpetual state of Tokyo drift. The default Warthog has now become the Wumbo Warthog, which I think is supposed to be inspired by Crash Team Racing, and this thing is, it's a monster, to put it lightly. So not only does it look absolutely ridiculous, but now it seats 4. A driver, a passenger, somebody sat on the bonnet, and someone that becomes the barrel of the turret. And yes, they rotate like the regular barrel when that turret's fired. The Rocket Hog, much like the Projectileinator, now fires a random projectile with each rocket, which, as you can imagine, is absolute hell in the hands of an NPC. Honestly, I had to reset this checkpoint so many times because either Cat or the Marine wouldn't stop firing this damn thing. The Hyper Hog returns from Cursed Halo 3 and ODST, except now it's become even worse. This thing is every Reach fan's worst nightmare. Don't worry, it's perfectly fine to drive on your own. You can handle it, of course. But when you let Cat drive, well, we all know how that goes. Good lord, this thing is a whole new level of hell. Trying to make it through Tip of the Spear with Cat driving this thing is harder than every Halo on Lasso put together, multiplied by 10. Honestly, don't ever even consider letting Cat near the wheel of this thing. It will not end well. On the flip side, the Bayou Warthog is a much more leisurely experience, just floating along thanks to the power of magic and futuristic rubber speedboats. How peaceful. Now, the Covenant have gone rather crazy in Cursed Reach as well. The standard Ghost is no more. Now, instead, Ghost pilots come fit with Ghost skates. One small ghost for each foot. And you know what? All joking aside, because goddammit this thing looks hilarious, it's also really, really cool. If, like me, you happen to be one of the 4 people in the world who really missed that old Flash game Shopping Cart Hero, then well, the Covenant has got you covered, fear not, with the new shopping cart. It's literally a shopping cart with elites and grunts piloting it. I have nothing else to say. The Wraith, however, has had quite the glow up, so long gone are the days of the Wraith having a normal cannon. Now, it has a Halo 1 Elite head with articulating mandibles and all of its sound effects swapped for Halo 1 Elite dialogue. This is truly iconic. The Banshees have become paper aeroplanes, which is very majestic. They glide through the air, firing mini paper aeroplanes that fire their own plasma bolts, and also kamikazeing down to the ground with its alt-fire mode, which replaces the Banshee bomb. These things are just majestic. And speaking of air vehicles, we've got to touch on the Sabre, the Seraph, and the Savannah, and also all the other space vehicles in Long Night of Solace, because they've all had something of a Star Fox makeover. They're all ships now from Star Fox, and although I've never played Star Fox, I've got to admit, this is actually really, really cool. You can tell that Gashnell loves like old Nintendo games. It kind of comes through pretty well. George even tells you to do a barrel roll as well, which I will say is pretty iconic. Descending back into the atmosphere of Reach, the Falcon becomes the Falcone. Yeah, I told you that Gashnor's got a thing for cones. And back down to Earth, or rather back down to Reach, we have the Scorpion, and this one isn't as much cursed as just downright ridiculous. So instead of its main cannon, the Scorpion now has a McHan for a turret. Truly the most overpowered thing since one-man army noob tubing. But what good are all these ridiculous sandbox tools if there's nothing to use them on? Well, Cursed Reach brings with it a few uniquely cursed enemies, the first of which is in fact technically a new type of enemy. So it seems as though in this rather strange cursed Halo timeline, which, you know, now that I think about it, is probably Halo's best alternate timeline, I would say, the Covenant don't just allow, but enforce cross-species breeding, because every single member of the Covenant has a half-grunt version. Yes, I'm talking half-grunt elites, half-grunt brutes, half-grunt jackals, half-grunt hunters, and even half-grunt drones. And yet still, this makes far more sense than the Halo TV show. Moving on. Hunters can now come in large packs, with 1 or 2 regular hunters leading a horde of grunt hunters. Grunters, let's call them. And the hunters themselves also have 2 variants as well. There's what I'm going to call the Dark Matter Hunters that fire this orb of dark matter that, you know, actually functions exactly like the Dark Matter Cube from Turok Evolution! Sucking in everything and destroying it. Then there's what I'm going to call the Hunters of Love that fire a rainbow beam that sucks their target in with extreme force. The leader of the rather iconic Devoted Sentries has had a makeover as well. In keeping with Gashnor's love for old Nintendo games, he now wears Majora's Mask, and you know what, all joking aside, this actually looks a little bit intimidating. On top of all of these new individual enemies, the Covenant also wield all of the many cursed weapons in this sandbox, so even the most regular of enemies feel anything but regular. And finally, let's do a brief overview of the changes that Cursed Halo has made to Reach's levels, cutscenes, and playable characters. Yep, you're not dreaming, you heard me right, playable characters. Trust me, there's some stuff in here that I have to cover. If I didn't, I'd kick myself. So for most of the levels, you play as Noble 6 as per usual, but when you get to Tip of the Spear, you all of a sudden take on a new form. You become a Mark V Mjolnir wearing Grunt. Yep, you just play the entire level out as a Mark V Grunt and nobody bats an eye. Oh, but don't worry, it gets a lot weirder. So on the Pillar of Autumn, you once again play as a Grunt, but this time, well, in hindsight, possibly in reference to Halo's beloved Silver timeline, you play as a Grunt Shaman armed with a fire staff. I honestly don't know where Gashnor got these ideas from, but bravo. Bravo. So, as you go through the levels, in place of the data pads, you'll find Gashnor's own personal Zune. Zune, if you don't know, was basically Microsoft's answer to the iPod in the mid-2000s, and activating these Zune devices gives you little bits of insight into how he made this mod and all the other mods that he's made, which honestly is kind of a cool little Easter egg to have. So, skipping ahead to Nightfall, this level completely threw me off, right? He's renamed the level to Gravitational Fall, which I didn't see upon loading in. Had I seen that, it would have explained a lot. So each loading zone in this level has completely different gravity. So at the start of the level, the gravity's cranked all the way up to like 1 billion, and so the slightest fall will kill you. But then, later in the level, the gravity almost goes down to like 0G. This took some serious getting used to, and as soon as I got used to the gravity, it changed again because I hit another loading screen. Honestly, very fitting for the cursed experience. The blood-pumping intro to Tip of the Spear has some additions, shall we say, that for some will definitely still get the blood pumping, just in a rather different way. Let's just say that we've now seen more of Captain Keyes than both the Proto Gravemind and even Halsey ever did. Yeah, that's something. When we fall from space after seeing Vegeta go Super Saiyan, or something like that, I don't know, I've never seen Gundam, Noble 6 lands in the infamous Reach City, a far more fitting name than New Alexandria, if you ask me. Towards the end of the Reach City arc of the story, Cap's death has been ever so slightly modified, shall we say. So, the elite that takes her out has the Grunt birthday party skull on, and fires a cone at her head with such velocity that her head blows clean off, which is pretty gnarly. And then, of course, as you'd expect, nothing crazy here, a brute then griddies on the glass remains of Reach City in true Silver Timeline fashion. Nothing crazy there. You know, Halsey must be a fan of Portal, because outside of her lab, she's given all of her defensive turrets GLaDOS voice lines.
Who are you? Can I help you? Whoa. Uh-oh.
Quite cute, actually, quite fitting. She's also a really big whiskey fan in this cursed timeline as well, apparently. You could even go as far as calling her an addict, in fact, considering she chooses to store Cortana not in a holomatrix. No. She stores her in a bottle of Captain Key's own brewed whiskey. If you're going as far as storing what you call a latchkey discovery in your bottle of whiskey, it might be time to stop. Speaking of keys, kind of. Unfortunately, it's my energy sword that kills Emil in this mod, and considering Emil is my favourite member of Noble Team, it kinda makes me sad. And finally, when Noble 6 is laid to rest, the Covenant took the courtesy, at the very least, to bury him with some of humanity's greatest artifacts, so, you know, he doesn't get bored in the afterlife, or in the cave. You decide. And that, my friends, is Cursed Halo Reach. Long overdue, but man, was it worth the wait. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments, and also go check the mod out for yourself. Like I said, the link is in the description. Massive props to Gashnor for not only making this mod and making it as good as it is, but also for slipping a homage to yours truly in there as well. I honestly really appreciate that. And so, with that said, let's round the video out there. I want to give a massive thank you to all of my amazing patrons for the continued support over there, as per usual. Thank you all so much, and thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.